KFI AM 640. It's later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the iHeartRadio app, and coming soon to TikTok. We told you yesterday we got to get to 1,000 followers. According to Daniel, at least, we got to get to 1,000 followers on TikTok at Mr. Mo Kelly, and then we can stream live on TikTok. Some people prefer TikTok to Instagram, prefer it to Facebook, or prefer it to YouTube. But we're trying to give you as many options as possible to catch the show. So go to TikTok.com right now. At Mr. Mo Kelly is the handle, and you can just sign up and subscribe there. It's all free. It's not a charge for any of this. And then you'll be ready for the live stream when it appears there. We have a great show tonight. There's more protesting, which is coming your way here in Southern California. We'll tell you about that in just a moment. Uber Eats. Drivers and taco stands, be very careful out there. In fact, Steph, you need to be careful out there because it's dangerous out there. They're targeting Uber Eats drivers and taco stands. They're robbing them.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Did you ever do Uber Eats?
I thought about it for like a split second, but I couldn't deal with the smell. Whatever you're going to bring, it's going to stay in that car. So it's like you can't do. I was telling Mark, you can't do both because if you pick someone up after you just took someone some Taco Bell, it's going to smell like that in the car.
How do you sign up though? Because you work quote unquote for Uber, is it easier to then sign up for Uber Eats?
Yeah, you basically just add it as an option to your profile, and you're allowed, and then you're given permission to pick up like a McDonald's order or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Not that I'll ever do that. I've used Uber Eats maybe 3 or 4 times, and I was out of town, not here in LA. It was just a necessity. Like when I was in Chicago a few months ago, I did Uber Eats because I didn't know where anything was as far as food options go. Well, see, that's why it's nice to have you around, Steph, and you can help us out with these small details that I know nothing about. And also, we're going to tell you how delivery robots now ride the actual subway to restock 7-Eleven stores in China. We talked about how 7-Eleven is very different depending on where you are in the world. Here's another example. And one more, witches, spells, and soulmates. Digital witchcraft is booming business on Etsy, believe it or not. So there you go, Mark. I know you're into witchcraft.
Well, I am. Thank you. Is this, did I know this?
No, it's just my way of saying good evening to you, Mark.
Hi to you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I was texting with Mark last night because I had forgotten that he had recommended this movie, or at least had talked about this movie, The Gorge. And
right.
And I was watching it last night. I said, wow, this is pretty darn good. I was reaching out to Mark and to Wallace, like, yeah, it's something you need to see. And I'd forgotten that Mark had talked about it. So, yeah.
Were you satisfied when you got to the end of it?
I was satisfied in the sense of it's free. It's part of my Apple TV subscription. Okay. It's not, I didn't have to do anything. It's not like I had to leave my house. It's not like I had to go get gas. It's not like I had to dedicate time out of my day. I was multitasking. It was on in the background. It kept my interest. I was telling you when we were texting, it was fine.
Yeah. The bar's lower for streaming. If I'd paid to go see that at a theater and drive and park and everything, I would have been like, but it was perfectly decent for a trash watch at home.
And I told you it was reminiscent of some other movies. I don't want to give it away if you haven't seen it, but it was fine for what it was. I compartmentalize. I can make a distinction between that which is streaming and that which is movie cinema quality.
Sure. The one thing that I said to you that doesn't spoil anything, because this is going to be really vague in general, is that I get really impatient with movies whose plot hinges on people doing stupid, wrong things that everybody knows they shouldn't be doing.
Right, but it was nice to see Sigourney Weaver in it. She made an appearance in it.
She's nerd royalty.
Yeah. No, I just realized what the movie was. I saw that too. It was good for a home watch.
Yeah, that's all you need sometimes.
And it was fine.
Also, Anya Taylor-Joy, not so hard on the eyes.
Not at all. But I can't really say that because my wife is in the studio. Lamu Hair is here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, today is our anniversary. We caught some food downstairs at Morton's. Morton's had some good eats. Yeah, it's been a whole 9 years.
That poor woman. I mean, happy anniversary.
You're not helping, Mark. You're not helping. Yes, 9 years ago today, Lamu Hair and I tied the knot.
Oh, babe.
And it's been absolute bliss ever since. Or at least that's what I'm going to say on the radio while she's standing right behind me.
That's what you're going to say in the deposition. It's been Bliss.
At least, yes. I've got it on the record now.
Asked and answered. Bliss.
Something else that's going on in LA, I want to start the conversation now, and I'll carry it over to the next segment. The Good Trouble Lives On rallies are going to be all around Southern California starting tomorrow. And as it seems, more than 1,600 different events are planned all across the country, but a lot of them are going to be here in Southern California, and they're going to honor the 5th anniversary of the late Congressman John Lewis's death. And they're going to have rallies, marches, voter registration drives, and that's the last part, which is most important, the voter registration drives. They're billing it as something to show their dislike and distaste of what the Trump administration is doing. But these are elaborate voter registration drives so they can get people's names, addresses, contact information so they can contact them and browbeat them for donations leading up to the midterms. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think we should recognize it for what it is, especially if you're going to get out there and quote unquote march, if you're going to protest, if you're going to show just how upset you are at what's going on right now in Washington. Just know you're not changing anything. They're just getting your information. You are getting your exercise in return, and maybe you might get on TV. Maybe you might do an interview with someone, but that's about the extent of it. But when we come back on the other side of this break, I'll get into the Good Trouble Lives On rallies, which are going to be going on all around Southern California. So if you should see them and you're not participating, you'll know at least to what they are referring. It's later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640 is Later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the iHeartRadio app. And I was telling you last segment that starting tomorrow, and it should be only tomorrow, there will be some 1,600 different events planned all around the country. A lot of them right here in Southern California. And then they're going to honor the 5th anniversary of the passing of Congressman John Lewis. And if you don't know him, he was a very instrumental figure in the modern civil rights movement of the late 50s and the 1960s. You may not know, well, people may remember the March on Washington. That's where Dr. King gave the famous I Have a Dream speech. Well, the youngest speaker on that day at the March on Washington was a 23-year-old organizer of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, none other than John Lewis. That's when he started coming into prominence as far as the national stage in the civil rights movement. And this march is in honor of his passing 5 years ago. And I'm a little bit more of a cynic. I look at marching very differently today than what it was in the 1960s, if only because I understood what it was then and what it was designed to do and what it helped achieve. Now it's a pale reflection of it. It's not the same thing. But let me just tell you this. I'll tell you where these marches and events will be going on tomorrow. So if you see them, you'll at least know what's going on and why. From 4:30 to 8 p.m., they will have events at Los Angeles City Hall. 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., only an hour at Bixby Park Annex in Long Beach. From 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at Memorial Park in Pasadena. 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the Irvine Civic Center. And 6 to 8:30 p.m. at Riverside Main Library. And 4 to 6 p.m. in San Bernardino. No specific address is listed, but you can go to goodtroubleliveson.org for all the specific information. But check this out. Organizers are saying that they're asking people to RSVP on the website to, quote, gauge capacity, and because the addresses for some events will only be provided to those who register ahead of time. Did you catch that? That's where it all comes down to, the gathering of addresses, the gathering of your information so they can send you stuff and ask for money later on. And that's where my cynicism comes out, because back in the day, the marching was for the greater goal, which was specific and explicit. And if you know anything about Congressman John Lewis, when he was just a student activist, he was working specifically towards the passage of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. That's not the case in having to do with any of this. This has to do with public pressure, if you will, on Washington, on the Trump administration, trying to let your voices be heard and say that you're not down with what Donald Trump is trying to do. Fine, got it, understand that. But if you're trying to, I'll say, latch on to the civil rights legacy of Congressman John Lewis, then you have to be mindful of the actual lessons which came out of the civil rights movement. Just having events was not what the civil rights movement was doing, was not what John Lewis was doing in the 1960s. They were not just showing up at certain places and having speeches. No, they were trying to have a public show of feelings having to do with, yes, what they want to change to the government, but also send a larger message to America that certain laws had to change. In the 1960s, it had to do with ending segregation, or as they called it, Jim Crow laws. Today, it's not all that specific, it's not all that clear, and people may show up to the events after signing up, after registering, and they're not actually walking to any specific destination, not legislatively, not physically. That's where I have a problem with a lot of these events. They're not organized to do anything beyond you giving up your information so it can be used later on during an actual election cycle, wherein they will ask you later on for you to donate money, or they'll be able to sell the list to different political candidates. I know it sounds real cynical, but I'm just being honest. That's how it actually works. That's why they want you, they require you to sign up and register via the website. And here's something else that you need to understand. This is a thin veneer of what the civil rights movement was. The phrase "good trouble," which comes from John Lewis, was about agitation, but agitation with a purpose. It wasn't about just being seen. It wasn't about just marching indiscriminately and just being heard and seen. Marching, at least during the civil rights movement, was the public tool, but it worked in concert with the private pressure put on members of Congress. Well, why would you put pressure on members of Congress? Because you would want to have a specific piece of legislation passed. Now you have Trump and his big, beautiful bill. Well, that's already passed. There's nothing you can do to undo that. And there's no specific legislation that these marches and events are centered around where you can actually channel this type of agitation to something bigger and better. That's why I am not necessarily against it. I think there is value on a small level as far as getting out and marching, but people never learn the bigger lessons. Why people march, how the strategy of marching was helpful for something else. Marching was never the goal. Marching was never the point of it all. Marching was so when you got out there, and back in the 60s, you had television media. If someone stuck a microphone in your face, you could say, yes, we are doing this specifically to get passage of the Civil Rights Act or then the Voting Rights Act. What you will find tomorrow is, and I bet dollars to donuts, you will hear people with nonsensical answers who won't be able to tell you anything specifically that they are asking for. They will tell you plenty about what they don't like. They will tell you plenty about what they would like to change. They will tell you what they're against as far as the Trump administration, and that's all fine, well, and good. But the purpose of the march will not serve any larger purpose. And you're welcome to prove me wrong, but think of it this way. Hey, Stefan, I'm going to use you as a sounding board here. You know how many people have reached out to me to ask about maybe coming on and publicizing the march or making sure people knew what was going on with the march and what they were asking for, even though KFI is the #1 news talk station in America? You know how many? Take a wild guess.
I'm going to guess a goose egg.
0. Mark Runner, does it surprise you that 0 reached out? Because it's not for the purpose of actually change. It's about expanding a mailing list.
They have completely ignored the Mo factor.
They've completely ignored the historical factor of how this is done.
Like the actual reason behind
The reason and how these methods, when applied correctly, can be very powerful. And I talk about Dr. King all the time. If you think about how did Dr. King manage to get more than hundreds of thousands of people to the mall on Washington? He didn't have a TV show. He didn't have a radio show. He didn't have social media. It was largely word of mouth, and it was largely what they call the Black Newspaper Association back then. How they spread the word, and it was through churches, and it was other ways in which people just were telling each other about it. How did they get everyone to key in and also support and show up? Because everyone knew what the larger goal was. Everyone knew that that was a display specifically for then President John F. Kennedy. That was the whole point. That was the whole point. Because King was going to meet with JFK when he was there in Washington. And he wanted to say, see, these hundreds of thousands of people behind me, now is the time we need to pass the Civil Rights Act and then eventually the Voting Rights Act. You don't have any of that going on now because people largely don't understand the history. They don't know the context of the history. They're just going to show up tomorrow and say, oh, we miss Congressman John Lewis. He was a wonderful American, which is true. And they'll say phrases like, we're getting into good trouble. Yeah, but you don't know what that is. You don't understand what good trouble really is. It's agitation with a purpose and a plan. And people will get on TV tomorrow and not a G-damn thing will have changed. It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI 640, we're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. When we come back, we got to talk about Uber Eats and taco stands. And now they are under attack from people who are trying to rob them left and right. We'll tell you about it next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, iHeartRadio app. And we're having a very spirited conversation amongst the Momigos in the Motown chat on YouTube. They're discussing protests, other civil rights luminaries, and what should be done differently today relative to protests, as opposed to, what is going on right now. And, some of the things I do agree with, some of the things I don't agree with. And so I'm going back and forth with them. But we have a very, very lively discussion. I encourage you to join us, at least in the chat portion on YouTube. Some people watch YouTube and they have no desire to be part of the chat. I completely get that. You don't have to, but I'm saying it's there for you. My mom, when she watches on TV. She has no idea what's going on in the chat. She has her smart TV. She opens up the YouTube app, and the way she goes, she just watches the show.
Does she participate in the chat?
No.
You haven't seen any cussing, have you?
No. If you see some F-bombs and, ardent defense of me, then that's probably my mother. You don't see that.
So. Oh, get her in there. I got to see this.
She is the most profane person on the face of the earth.
I love it.
By a lot. You cannot out-cuss K.O. Kelly.
Nah.
I need proof of this.
Oh.
I need proof in person.
You should have shown up to the Chateau Le Mans.
All right.
That's your fault.
You walked into that one, and she was cussing up a storm.
Yeah, she was.
Really? Well, bring her in here.
No, that's the
come
thing.
Out there.
No, that's the problem, because I have brought her to the studio before, and when I do, she tries to tell me what to do. When I don't, she starts cussing. And I'm worried about putting her on the mic because she's going to start cussing.
No downside of that. Foosh has the dump button.
No, there is a downside because we have these video streams which don't have a dump button. And I don't need her very colorful commentary going out on the video stream.
Right. Well, think about my needs for once.
No, never. Uber Eats drivers, and I talked about this briefly in the first segment because I know Stefan has a point of reference as an Uber driver. And I'm going to rely on you again, Stefan, because, and also you, Twala, because you've driven for Uber. I don't understand. Uber Eats drivers and taco stands have been targeted, not just in LA County, but around the country. LAPD has put out a particular warning about it but it's happening all around the country. What I don't understand is why would Uber Eats drivers be targeted for robberies? It's not like they're carrying, quote unquote, more money than anyone else. They're carrying people's food, presumably, but I don't get what the appeal is.
That is kind of odd because, as far as I know, they pick up the food and they just deliver it to wherever they're going. But I don't know why. I get the stands, unfortunately, because they're isolated. They're in one spot. We move around, so I don't know why they're going after the drivers themselves. Because exactly like you said, we don't have any more money than anyone else.
Yeah, I would. It'd be different if they were making some sort of monetary drop or there's money which is changing hands. But that's the whole point of Uber and Uber Eats. Money does not change hands.
Nope.
Tuwala, when you're driving, I don't think you carried money on you other than what you may have needed for your lunch or something.
No, yeah. As an Uber driver, even especially Uber Eats, you're not carrying any money. Today at the school I work at, 3 Uber Eats orders came in, and they're now all they ask for is the code. There is no exchanging of credit cards or anything like that. But this goes back to a conversation that we had years ago, Mo, when we talked about the dangers of delivering pizzas in the hood.
That's true. That's true.
And it's just anyone can put in an order for a pizza, and then you're just jacked.
No, I get that. But also, usually the people who are delivering pizzas, they have money for change back in the day.
Yep.
That there was a financial transaction which was going to take place. Yes, and that's just dangerous when you're in the hood. Let me make the comparison. I intellectually can understand why taco stands would be at risk because that there are financial transactions going on there. There's something of value beyond the food, which is there. But as far as the Uber Eats, it's like, that's your best option?
No. Look, hear me out. It goes beyond the food. As an Uber Eats delivery person, it's just you. You are getting out of your car. You have your car keys with you. Anyone looking to jack you can take the food,
the car,
and the car.
No, that
yes.
was, yeah. But when they say robberies,
no, yeah,
they didn't say carjackings. That's why
it's one and the same for the warnings that they're given. It's like they're getting taken for everything they got, everything in your pockets, everything. You're getting robbed. And especially in a city like LA where, carjacking is still at an all-time high. It could be just someone who wants to do donuts for the night at a damn takeover.
Street takeover.
Street takeover.
And this is kind of part and parcel when we talk about being in safe situations. Like I say, if you don't know, I always say, I don't stop at gas stations at night. I stopped to get gas today because I was not going to stop last night. That's just something I kind of live by. And I don't do a lot of driving where I'm accessible to the public at night. The most you'll get out of me is I'm going to a grocery store where there are a lot of people, hopefully. And I'm judicious about which grocery store I'm going to stop. Like, I'm not going to stop at the Ralph's that Mark shops at. Okay?
Too many prostitutes.
Too many.
Too many ladies of the night.
And there's a Ralph's by my house that I talk about. It's like, I don't stop there at night. Hells no. Nothing good.
Yeah, I think I know.
No, I said it's the one on Vermont and 120th. They got armed security in there for a reason.
Now, Foosh, you haven't done Uber Eats, but being an Uber driver, is it still to the point where all you know of is the person who has requested the ride? There is still no actual guarantee that the person that you're going to pick up is one and the same, correct?
That's actually funny that you mentioned that. They added another layer. So let's say Mo ordered it for his wife. It'll say Mo, but then it'll say the name of Mo's wife, and it'll say, Mo's guest.
La Mujer.
Yeah, La Mujer. So when I get there, that's who I'm picking up under your account.
Right. No.
But
under my account.
Right,
but you still don't know who I am.
No.
Because it's like when I get rides for my son, it's like, yes, I'll put in the request that I put his name in and they know they're getting him. But you don't know me. You don't know you don't know if I'm setting you up.
True.
Just as an Uber driver. Now, just think, as an Uber Eats driver, you've got to get out of your car. That's one less layer of safety.
That's that's not the reason I did it. But yeah, just dealing with food, I didn't want to deal with that. It was too much. It's already enough dealing with drunk people.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it seriously. It's one thing when, especially from what you tell me, Steph, you do a lot of work at night.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the worst portions of people's personalities and their decisions. They're probably they're on their way to doing something stupid, or they've already done something stupid. Now they need a ride home from their stupidity.
And I don't think he's watched Taxi Driver yet either, have you, Foosh?
No, he
I
hasn't.
have.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Has
You're
it changed
you're
your
just
life?
brave.
Has it given you perspective on what you're doing?
A little bit more so. Taxi Cab Confessions.
I think
That was good.
give yourself a mohawk and buy a 38.
Call it a day.
Yep.
Do they still do Taxi Cab Confessions?
No, but they should.
I thoroughly enjoyed that show. And that was at the beginning of the whole idea of having a camera in your car. Now every Uber driver basically has
they
it.
all
but,
have it now.
But back then it was still...
That was revolutionary.
It was revolutionary, and people, for some reason, and I've never been that person, but for some reason they get in a cab or an Uber and they feel like just telling their life story.
I've been told some secrets. I've been told some drama because they know they'll never see me again. So they just feel so comfortable with me. And my favorite with Taxi Cab Confessions is when everyone's like, oh, it's fake. I loved at the end of the episodes, you'd see them sign the release.
Yes.
So they know it was real.
Yeah, and they don't sign it until the end.
Yeah.
You know, we got you on camera.
So-and-so, yeah.
Are you ready for it to be put out there like that? So that, and I appreciated that because then that's how it actually goes down.
Exactly.
You can't just have someone in the cab tape them and then use it for a TV show and not tell them about it, that they've been, or not get their permission to actually use it. Well, I'm still glad that you guys are alive because I don't know how you survive out there with Uber and everything.
Honestly, it's pretty interesting at night. I'll give you that.
You're
And
just brave, Foosh.
like I said, I've given something of like 20,000 rides. Only one time I felt a little weird. But
Wait, 20,000 rides?
But other than that, everyone's been pretty cool. Just, obviously you get some D-bags, you get some princesses every once in a while. But for the most part, everyone's pretty cool.
So what's your average rating? Like, what is your rating? Like 3.7? 3.5 stars?
No, I'm 4.99 on both.
What did you do? What did you do?
I think I missed a turn one time on both.
It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFIM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app, and people are saying like, bring your mom on. No. Tell her to go to the chat. No.
My favorite is no, mommy, no.
No.
Yes.
Do not encourage her. She is more immature than I am at this point. More vulgar than I am. She will say things that will embarrass you.
The next time you're out of town, I'm going to guest host and have her as my guest.
She's called in before.
Okay.
I just don't recommend it. I love her, but I just don't trust her. KFIM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI Later with Mo Kelly, live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the iHeartRadio app. I was really over last segment, so this is going to be quick. But the reason I was talking about Uber Eats drivers, unfortunately, being robbed, it also gives me the opportunity to talk about where technology is going. Because not only is a robbery financially detrimental to the Uber Eats driver, it's also detrimental to the company, Uber, and as far as trying to get people to do those jobs. Then when I tell you about what's going on in China right now, and much to the chagrin of Mark Ronner, who's not going to like this.
Listen, I'm not Dr. McCoy, okay? I'm not just against any technology.
You're against this technology because on a certain level, it has to include AI. In China, they have these autonomous delivery robots. Get this. They are designed to ride elevators, get on and off subway platforms, board trains, and deliver goods to stores all around the subway system, as opposed to having an actual person deliver food or deliver supplies to a specific location. They now have bots which can maneuver most of that urban terrain, where you're not, it's not like just driving down the street. No, it will go up on platforms. It will get on subways. It will ride elevators. It can't do steps. But outside of that, it can go from A to B as a person would. And they're using it presently right now to restock 7-Eleven stores.
Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. Oh, thank heaven. Oh, thank them for 7-Eleven.
So when they have robots which will ride the subway, think how much money these companies would save without using actual employees. And this goes back to a larger point we always make, and actually we're in agreement here as far as corporate greed. The moment that the technology can be used to fit the American lifestyle, it will be here because there's no need to pay someone when you have the option of paying no one.
Well, the biggest irony here is that in Japan, civilian gun ownership is almost unheard of. And so you don't need a robot there. You need the robots for the 7-Elevens here.
The whole idea of respect and criminality is just different. It's different. When I was in South Korea last June, as a matter of fact, you saw no graffiti. You didn't have this fear that there was going to be someone who's going to rob you. I'm quite sure there's crime on some level, but it's a different social experience. Here in America, there is no respect for anyone at all. There's no respect for anyone's property. You can go to any neighborhood and find graffiti. You can find homelessness. And yeah, that's part of the reason why you don't have this many delivery robots here. You'll see them downtown, but you know, we have people here who are vandalizing the Waymos. You know, we can't have nice things. We're not there yet.
I'm not going to shed a lot of tears over the Waymo vandalism, but the no respect thing, people take my food out of the refrigerator here. It's widespread, the disrespect.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Well, I found out the hard way.
No, when I first started working here at iHeart, I think the first week, people were like stealing my lunches. It's one of those things where you know it's not your lunch.
No, Americans are filthy animals.
You know it's not yours. Why would you take someone else's food?
Yeah.
I never understood that. It's not yours when it's not like you brought it from home and like, oops, I mistook it. I don't get that.
I remember I was in kindergarten, and I remember these things like it was yesterday, and I had a Yogi Bear lunchbox.
No.
And it turned out someone else in my kindergarten class also had a Yogi Bear lunchbox. I inadvertently took that person's lunchbox.
In other words, you made a boo-boo. Hello, come on.
Oh, goodness.
Come on, Foosh.
Labu Hair actually laughed at that, so.
See, how about that? Okay.
Well earned.
Yeah. But see, that was an example of a mistake.
But that's what I'm saying. That I understand because you were a child, for one.
Still am, according to some people.
But it's like, yeah, that was a mistake.
But Mark is just now figuring out how people get down around here. They will swipe your lunch in a heartbeart.
It's just low. It's unacceptable.
And it has to be someone we know because there are not that many people on this floor. And there are not that many people who come from the other floor. We have like vending machines, so people will come down from the fifth floor. We're on the fourth floor. And they'll come and, you know, either put stuff in the refrigerator or they'll get stuff from the vending machines. So they have a reason to be here, but they're not that many people.
You can probably count on two hands the amount of people by this point on both floors.
So we know it's one of us. It's one of us. It's somebody we know.
It's like a rotten Agatha Christie story. This is a building of savages in a nation of savages. I don't accept it.
You ought to fit in real well then.
Okay.
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. More stimulating talk.